What's going on, guys? This is John Zakari, and today I want to talk about the NES Classic and its discontinuation. So it was announced recently that Nintendo was discontinuing production of the widely popular and still very in-demand NES Classic, much to the dismay of not only the gaming community, but consumers in general. This was the hot item of the holiday season, and the thing has consistently been selling out pretty much instantly as soon as retailers get more stock in. So a few days ago, after hearing about this, I read that select Best Buys would be getting more of the Classic in stock on Monday. This past Monday, as of the time of this recording. So given the circumstances, I figured I'd go try to pick one up. I called the night before, an employee confirmed that the system would be in stock at my local store the next day. So that morning, I headed there first thing. I got there at about 8:10 in the morning, with the store opening at 10, almost 2 hours later. There were already a bunch of people in line, but not only that, I was also informed that they had already handed out tickets for the stock that they would be getting in that day, and many had been turned away. Now, I'm not here to rant about how salty I am for not getting one, as I never really was that interested in it. But I think it's important to note just how desired this thing still is. I mean, it feels still like a new console in terms of demand. In fact, when's the last time you saw people lining up early in the morning for a piece of hardware that was 6 months old? Maybe for the Wii? But here's the thing. I want to discuss Nintendo's line of thinking here, or what I believe to be their line of thinking. Straight up, they aren't in the business of selling NES Classics, or any future Classic systems. I'm not saying future ones won't come, but don't expect them to be much wider releases. Their major focus is on the Switch, which is honestly where it should be, and that's a shortage issue that I actually have a problem with, but let's stay on the Classic for now. So why aren't they focused on selling them? Johnny, don't you get that they could easily sell thousands more? Doesn't Nintendo like money? Yes, they do. But this thing probably isn't a huge moneymaker for them. Certainly not in terms of what the potential is with the Switch or what they're already doing with the 3DS. I mean, remember, this is essentially a mini system that has to be manufactured with a controller, loaded up with the games, then it's got to be boxed up, shipped, etc. And it costs $60. I mean, think of it this way, people. Since it was announced, we've all been talking about what a great deal it is, having 30 games for the price of one current game. So here's the quick business lesson for you. Think of the cost to manufacture this thing as well as the cost to get it to a consumer, compared to the cost of, say, printing a game on a disc or selling a game to you on the eShop. As far as potential, there's probably not much money to be made there. Again, compared to their other ventures, you have to understand, please understand, that all companies, no matter how big, have, X amount of resources, and given what I just stated, I can understand why Nintendo doesn't want to keep going with the Classic. Nintendo is a business, and if they were making huge profit margins off of this, with demand still so high, believe me, they'd be pumping them out. But they want to keep that focus again on the Switch, and even keep us, the consumers, focused on that as well. I even stated in my original video on the Classic before it even released, that I saw this thing as a way for Nintendo to get its name back into the news, and into the consumer's mind before the Switch. I mean, coming off of the flop that was the Wii U, I saw Nintendo using the Classic as sort of a palate cleanser, reminding people of why they love Nintendo, and trying to shove those memories of the Wii U and its game droughts, etc. under the rug. So no, it wasn't really a surprise for me when I heard that the thing was going to be discontinued shortly after the Switch released. And that's Nintendo's point of view, at least, again, how I see it. Now, what about you, the consumer? The consumer who's pissed that you weren't able to get the system? Well, I understand your point too. And I think that could have a negative effect on some potential buyers for their other systems. Nintendo is famous for this sort of supply and demand problem that seems kind of like their strategy, honestly. I love to keep reminding people that I pointed out the potential of this being a problem with the Switch long leading up to its release, and so many people were slamming me for being basically insane. There's no way they'd have this issue again. Look at how many they're shipping. You're crazy for thinking that we could go for months with stock problems in today's market. That's a problem from the past. Doesn't happen anymore. Yeah, am I still crazy? But when you play this game with consumers, they get burnt easily. One thing that is different in today's gaming climate compared to the past is the wide range of options. There's a lot of systems out there. There's a lot of really good systems out there. PC is an option. And when you can't buy one, that's a pretty good incentive to buy another. Which is why the Switch issue actually bothers me, but in terms of the Classic, lots of people jumped through many hoops trying to get this thing with no success, only to see the Classics flood to eBay to line scalpers' pockets. As someone who considers themselves as pro-consumer, if I'm truly a fanboy of anybody, it's the consumer. I do not like this one bit. This thing was marketed as a cool collectible for the hardcore Nintendo fan, and those looking to reconnect with some good old nostalgia, but it quickly became something only for people willing to pay a ridiculously high premium for it. That straight up sucks. Which brings me to essentially my final point. If you want to do this, Nintendo, make something that's supposed to be a treat for the fans, then you have to do it right. Make sure the fans get the damn thing. Either you make it widely available, as many have asked for, or do what many others are starting to do with collectibles and limited edition type items to dissuade scalpers. Rather than making something straight up limited, perhaps make it a time limited type item. I mean, especially now after the Classic, consumers will have their eyes peeled on any signs of some sort of successor, such as a rumored SNES Classic. So I'd say do this. Give people some time, like make the announcement and then wait for a few weeks later and put the pre-orders up, leave them there for a week, 2 weeks, whatever, and straight up anyone can pre-order at any time during this period, and anyone who does pre-order it during that time is guaranteed to get one. But once you come to the end of that time period, it's over. Sure, you'll still have people upset who didn't get one, you'll still have scalpers, but honestly, you'll never have a way to please everyone ever. But I feel like this would be a much better way of making sure everyone who really wants one has a fair shot at getting one. Rather than being rewarded for just being available the minute an item goes up for sale, you're rewarded for being a fan. Crazy concept, right? So yeah, I am not at all a fan of this, sort of low supply strategy that Nintendo seems to take with a lot of its consoles. But with the NES Classic being a novelty item, it doesn't really bother me as much as, say, the situation we have with the Switch right now. But I do understand why consumers are upset about it, and if Nintendo wants to keep their consumers happy, which they really should be, looking to mend fences after the Wii U, then they need to do a better job with any future releases of similar type items. And with that, this video is a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on this whole NES Classic debacle in the comments. If you were working at Nintendo and were tasked with planning the release of, say, an SNES Classic, how would you try to improve the release? As always, I'm John Zakari, and thanks for watching.